I've been involved with the MTA Art and Design program for many years. My first project was in 2008, Celadon Remnants, that opened in the Broadway station in Flushing, Queens. So I did a project with them. They're familiar with my work, and then they invited me years later to submit a proposal as one of the finalists for the MTA Second Avenue station. Elevated is a project, has three components. Elevated speaks about the changing landscapes of an urban setting of New York City. When I was looking at the Elevated, I was really struck how the Second Avenue subway station is going to seem like it's a new intervention into that neighborhood, but in fact it's an old idea that has ebbed and flowed. And before there was an Elevated, before there was a subway station, there was the Elevated, and I really wanted to kind of bring those kind of conversations together as the contemporary commuter goes into the subway, that they have an understanding what was present before and what's absent now, you know, as they experience the new station. So one of the moments is that you'll come from the Elevated entrance, and you'll see these beautiful red hand ceramic tiles, and from that is the beams and the kind of the imagery of the elevated beams being removed, and that sort of sets the tone of the kind of a materiality and an event. As you descend down to the mezzanine level, you're filled with the mosaic of skies and beautiful kind of New York landscape of the elements. And I wanted the viewer who's going to be sort of going underground to kind of have a moment of an experience that is no longer there. And in my research, one of the people who were interviewed when the Elevated left was saying, oh, I'm going to really miss that ride where you feel like you're moving among the clouds. And so to a certain point, I wanted a New Yorker to have that experience through the translation of the sky in a mosaic atmosphere. So the Elevated tracks are extracted and replaced with this beautiful sky. There's also, in the photographs I've used as source material, there's an extraction of the commuters that were in the pictures, and so those are also translated in black and white mosaic, and so New Yorkers will be kind of among the imagery of old New Yorkers as they kind of wait and commute. So there's kind of a language of people to people, you know, historically into the present. And then finally, you take the long elevators and descend down to the platform level. And again, what was so beautiful was this ability to be able to experience the cityscape with the Elevated and to be at a certain point of view that the average New Yorker won't have. And so then that's captured by the extraction of these cityscapes that were photographs that were taken from the Elevated trains. I've removed the tract to create this mirrored view. So the mirroring allows for commuters to see themselves reflected in this imagery. And it captures the city in this golden, beautiful light, and the material is made out of glass. The piece is very integrated to the design of the subway station, and so we worked very closely with the design to try to place it in appropriate places. For me, conceptually, it was really kind of a nice thing to have someone coming from the city enter into the subway and then descend by design. That station is one that you have to kind of take elevators or escalators down to the platform. And so that really shifted the idea of reversing the notion of back in the day, people commuted by coming up to an elevated platform, and here we're doing the opposite, this kind of contemporary subway. So it was very important how we cited the work and how that shifted the experience for the viewer as they commute. So the narrative that I'm telling you is something, you know, comes for me with research and places of inspiration for the project. But for the average viewer, they're going to see, you know, hints of what what hints of the story, and it's a layered story, you know, so you might see the beams and wonder, what is that about? Is it construction? What's happening, you know? Someone might think of it as a beautiful sculpture, like a Calder, you know, beams and or de Souvreau, you know. I think those are great references to art and architecture. In reality, I see that the urban landscape is just as beautiful as art, so, you know, why not point the camera right back to the city? But and also the materiality of the ceramic will just be incredibly beautiful, and hopefully that will enlighten someone's day, you know, as they're thinking about, why is that here? You know, I'm a real true believer in art in public space, and this is why I do the work I do. I feel like the encounters, I mean, it's art for the people, right? And for the price of a token, you get to kind of experience the best work there is. It's a privilege for me to be able to kind of contribute to something that will have cultural legacy. You know, people coming from New York, everyone in the world, again, for the cost of a token, they're able to see great work, and to be able to be shaped by those images, to trigger different thoughts, to have it reflect, you know, themselves and their experience. I think those are really important motivations for me as an artist, and hopefully it'll make people have a better commute. Well, it's a real honor to be selected to the project, to do the project. The caliber of artists that are doing these projects are so high, and that, you know, it's a legacy of American artists, and it's a historical moment, really, to have the Second Avenue station open up. So for me, it's a real landmark in my history to be able to make such a grand, large-scale project, and the kind of landmark site is also so important. So yeah, I love the fact that it's a subway station and that people are seeing the work every day, and so they're going to get, you know, pieces of the story, and over time they might pick up on another moment and another detail. So the story really unfolds over a lifetime. Hopefully, many of the people, you know, their subway is a place that they identify with every day.